Okay, so I'm Lindsay Douglas, and this is my final informative speech. These are my 10 people. Lower. Okay, so the reason that we have myths associated with Thanksgiving is that it's an invented tradition. It doesn't originate in any one event. It is based on the New England Puritan Thanksgiving, which is a religious Thanksgiving, and the traditional harvest celebrations of England and New England, and many other ideas like commemorating the Pilgrims. All of these have been gathered together and transformed into something different from the original parts. James W. Baker, a senior historian at the Plymouth Plantation. Since it might be the most appropriate day ever, I thought I would give you guys a speech about Thanksgiving. I'm going to talk about Thanksgiving today by discussing what really happened during the first Thanksgiving, the Thanksgivings that came after it, why turkey became the meat of choice for the holiday, and the tradition of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So let's begin with our first main point, which focuses on what actually happened during the first Thanksgiving. Well, we all know the classic story. It was a cold, late fall day in 1621, when about 50 pious English settlers called Pilgrims, who had barely survived the first year in the New World, shared a feast with their neighbors, the Frimley Waumapoke Indians. Everyone else knows about the first dinner, and everything we know comes from a record written by Edward Winslow, a Pilgrim. Winslow mentions that Indian participation in the event. In the exuberance of the colonists' celebration, guns were fired, and the Waumapoke Indians wondered if there was trouble. So they wandered into the settlers' camp, and the villagers let them stay. But there wasn't enough food to go around. So the Indians went out and caught some deer, and then ceremoniously gave it to the English. He talks about a bountiful harvest of crops and wild game, including geese and ducks, but no turkey. At this particular feast, though, the Pilgrims did eat wild turkey. Winslow wrote that the feasting carried on for 3 days. Information coming from the Native American history. In fact, Winslow never in any of his accounts used the word Thanksgiving. And that's because the dinner served between the Pilgrims and the Waumapoke Indians wasn't the first celebration of a Thanksgiving. Information provided from the VOA News proves that 23 years earlier, Spanish explorer Juan de Oñate held a huge Thanksgiving celebration on the banks of the Rio Grande River, after leading settlers on an arduous 563-kilometer trek across the Mexican desert. And in 1619, 2 years before the Pilgrims and Indians shared food together, a ship carrying 38 settlers landed at the location of Virginia's Berkeley Plantation. These newcomers and existing settlers threw a party, and the London company that sent them ordered that the day be marked with an annual Thanksgiving celebration every year thereafter. Next, we'll talk about the Thanksgivings that came after. In 1863, President Abraham Lincoln declared Thanksgiving a national holiday, but it wasn't until 1939 that President Franklin Roosevelt declared that the holiday should always be celebrated on the fourth Thursday of the month, in order to extend the holiday shopping season by a week. The decision sparked a great controversy and was still unresolved until 2 years later, when the House of Representatives finally passed a resolution making the last Thursday in November a legal national holiday. The modern Thanksgiving holiday America celebrates is thus derived from bits and pieces of traditional European harvests, rituals, Native American spiritual traditions of Thanksgiving, and spotty documentations. The result is the rendering of a historic event that is now more fiction than truth. And did you know that Jingle Bells was originally a Thanksgiving song? James Pierpont composed the song in 1857 for children celebrating Thanksgiving. The title was called One Horse Open Sleigh, and it was such a hit that they sung it again at Christmas. The song quickly became associated with the Christmas holiday season, and the title was officially changed in 1859 to Jingle Bells. Information from the Business Insider. Our next point today is that why do we eat turkey? Well, since the first Pilgrims probably didn't have Thanksgiving turkey on the first Thanksgiving, where did this turkey tradition come from? The tradition of turkey is because that's how the Victorians prepared Thanksgiving, and they're the ones who made Thanksgiving a national holiday, beginning in 1863 when Abe Lincoln issued his presidential Thanksgiving proclamations. Before Lincoln, Americans outside New England did not usually celebrate the holiday. Information provided from the History News Network. In the U.S., about 280 million turkeys are sold for Thanksgiving celebrations, with the average Thanksgiving turkey weighing about 15 pounds. Yearly, Americans will eat somewhere between 16 and 18 pounds of turkey each. Turkey contains the essential amino acid tryptophan. I even practiced it too, which is a natural sedative. Many people believe that turkey's tryptophan content is what makes many people sleepy after a big Thanksgiving meal. But it's more likely a combination of fats and carbohydrates than when most people eat turkey, as well as large amounts of food, provided from history.com. So our final point today is as much tradition as eating turkey is at this point, which is the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Macy's actually wasn't the first Thanksgiving parade. The Philadelphia department store Gimbels had sponsored a parade in 1920, but the Macy's parade, which launched 4 years later, became a Thanksgiving tradition, and the standard kickoff for the holiday shopping seasons. The parade became even more well-known after it was featured prominently in the hit film Miracle on 34th Street, which shows actual footage of the 1946 parade. The first Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York took place when Macy's employees, dressed in vibrant costumes, and marched to the flagship store on 34th Street. The parade used floats instead of balloons, and it featured monkeys, bears, camels, and elephants, all borrowed from the Central Park Zoo. There weren't any balloons until 3 years later, when Anthony Frederick Sarg created a huge Felix the Cat balloon, full of air and not helium. At first, parade balloons were let go into the sky to deflate and disappear, but a few years later they got safety valves that let them float through the streets for people to catch. From International Business Times. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade features 11 marching bands, 16 balloons, 30 floats, and 900 clowns. Full-size balloons require 90 handlers, while smaller ones need only 30. According to NBC, about 4,000 volunteers regularly help put on the 3-hour parade for about 3.5 million people who line up in the 2.6-mile route, and the 50 million who watch from their homes. Actors have performed scenes from more than 60 Broadway shows. This year's featured 5 shows. The parade takes 18 months to organize. So to summarize, Thanksgiving has become an iconic holiday for every American. Through exploring what really happened on the first Thanksgiving, what happened on Thanksgiving after, why we eat turkey, and the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, we can understand the famous holiday and appreciate it even more. Craig Lungsberg, the author, said this when questioned about Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a posture of both mind and heart, where we recognize how terribly fortunate we are, and how much we've been blessed, despite the fact that we probably haven't been the blessings that we should have been. Thanksgiving is coming to the life-altering understanding that truly precious things can't be owned anywhere. And the wonder of it all is not only realizing that we can't own them, but it's realizing that we don't have to expend the energy and the maintenance of them in order to enjoy them. Thanksgiving reminds us that no matter what befalls us in life, we can take the charge remains, and we can reconstruct a life unimaginably richer than that from which the shards and pieces fall. Thank you.